Back, basketball fans. Thank God Kentucky finally got back into the winning column, moving to 17-7, 7-4 in conference, beating Ole Miss 75-63 in this game today. Um, Kentucky has been obviously in a down streak, losing 3 games, I think, back to back to back in Kentucky. Obviously, one was against Gonzaga, who obviously is a very, very good team, highly rated, and obviously one of the best teams year in and year out in college basketball. So it was no surprise that they were going to have a tough game with him, but it was a home court game, so people were expecting that Kentucky would be better and would be able to win that. But obviously with Mitchell being injured and the guard play really being inconsistent from Kentucky's position, they have 3 rookie guards who obviously during this season have been fantastic. Reed Shepherd, Dillingham, and obviously what's his face? I can't even remember his name, but the third kid for obviously grandpa, dad, and now him. His name will come to me. I'm sure you know who I mean. He obviously had some injury issues which made him lose his position early on. Dillingham has been a sniper in recent games, but over the last few games has been off today, turnover prone. As good as he is one-on-one, a lot of times he makes terrible decisions within team play. But at the same time, he's one of the best creative players on the team as far as setting up his big men in pick and roll play and just creating perfect passes for these players. And we saw a little bit of that today in today's game as well. Reed Shepherd's probably been the most consistent along with Mitchell. Mitchell obviously coming off of injuries, missed a few games, and even today went to the bench early and wasn't as effective as he has been this year. Early on in the year, when the 3 young centers weren't sort of available for play, he was the dominant player for the team on the interior, obviously carrying a lot of the load early on in the season. And Kentucky looked good. So expectations were very high once obviously Bradshaw, Big Z, and the big tall player, sorry if I can't remember his name, who played very well today defensively, finally were allowed and able to play for the team. With that 3 horsemen, people really had expectations that Kentucky was just going to take off. But that hasn't happened. A lot of inconsistencies, players trying to find their roles. Obviously now Mitchell is needing to play more of a power forward position as opposed to a center position. This has made it difficult for the small forwards who have been inconsistent at times, obviously injuries and just shooting not very well at all and being a little turnover prone. A lot of the play has come down to Kentucky guards. Reeves, obviously the experienced player, played very well last year when he had a huge center down low, had tons of opportunities for three-point shooting. This year has had to be a little more creative, had to go to the hoop a lot more, had to work off his dribble. And early on in the season, he was very effective. But as we progressed in SEC conference play, they've really closed out on him quickly, stopped him from getting open looks at the 3-point line, and forced him to have to go to the hole to get his points. And he's been a little inconsistent, and obviously he's not the most athletic of players or the tallest. So this has come up now that obviously we're in conference play. Reed Shepherd has been probably the most consistent out of all the guards, and consistently his stats are just going up and up and up and up. He's getting a lot of talk now in NBA draft circles, potentially being one of the top draft picks. And for me, a Kentucky fan, I hope that he stays. I would love to see him join next year's crop of freshmen that are coming in. It looks like it's going to be a great crop of players. You throw him and a little bit more of experienced players from this year's team, and Kentucky next year potentially could be monsters. And being a Kentucky fan, I'm obviously looking for us to win and do as much as possible. So if he's able to come back next year, I'd be happy with that. And I think for his development, it'd probably be the best thing to do. He's not the tallest or the fastest player out there. And for him to transition to the NBA, I think defensively he'd have a lot of problems at this point of his career. Because that's primarily the biggest issue Kentucky has had, stopping penetration from guards, right? Dillingham has been inconsistent. Shepard's been inconsistent. Reeves has been inconsistent. What's his face? I can't believe I can't remember his name. Oh my God. But the other young guard who was the most highly recruited out of all of them, he's been probably the best defender off of the dribble. But still, even in saying that, he's also been inconsistent. So teams have really feasted on them, got in the lane, and sort of opened up the three-point shooting, which they've been able to capitalize on Kentucky so far now that we've got into conference play. So the question is, what can Kentucky do moving forward? Obviously, as a team, they need to play far better defensively as a team, as a unit, and be able to sort of help people a lot more, because so far they've been very inconsistent in that aspect. They also need to rebound a lot better. They've been giving up tons of rebounds, even though they have 3 7-footers on the team. You wouldn't think that would be something that they would be struggling with. But because their guards are all short, all about 6'3", really, they don't get much help from the guard position for rebounding, which hurts them as well, especially defensive rebounding. And then, 2 of their small forwards have been inconsistent as well. Didn't step up and perform at the level that people anticipated they would at the beginning of this year. Three-point shooting has been good, but the problem with them, I find that even though they're a great offensive team, offensively, they seem very one-dimensional. They don't seem that they're able to sort of move the ball very well. A lot of times, one player is trying to penetrate off the high pick and roll. The other players are standing there watching, waiting for a potential kick out. But the problem in doing that is them not moving, not rotating, not swinging. It's easy for the defense to close out on them and stop them from getting open opportunities. So they haven't really even been clicking that well offensively, which has been pretty disappointing, especially when you have the offensive talent that they do have. And we've seen it consistently through the year. They're averaging over 80 points a game easily. So it shouldn't be a problem to score points inside and outside. Big Z obviously showed us some super talent that first game that he played, showing us great touch from the outside. Obviously, the problem with him, he needs to be stronger on the inside, which is one reason why he hasn't been getting consistent minutes, because defensively, he's not really benefiting the team as much as they would like. Hence the reason the other center from last year is playing far more, because defensively, he's a much better player and rebounding-wise, stronger on the inside. But offensively, he's terrible. He has bad hands. He has no offense at all. So you can't really use him that well in pick and roll, or you shouldn't be able to, because every team knows that he's not going to shoot the jumper, right? They know that basically he's just being used as a screen, and that's all, because he's never really going to be somebody that they go to offensively, unlike when they used Mitchell early on in the year. Mitchell, who can hit the three-point shot, so obviously is more of a threat and more effective at that position. I'm just hoping as this conference play continues, obviously they're going to get better. They're going to need to get better. They're going to have to work on their strengths and weaknesses to prepare for March Madness. And I hope that by the time March comes, which, isn't that long away, that the team is finally going to be clicking on all cylinders. The big men are going to find their roles. They're going to be tougher than they have been so far. That both Bradshaw and Big Z, who definitely need to step it up and show a lot more heart and toughness on the inside. So what do you think about Kentucky? Do you think they have much of a shot to be potential upset artists in this year's NCAA March Madness tournament? Or do you think they're going for an early out, and then we're going to have to wait for next year to see how this Kentucky Wildcat squad can do and what they will do moving forward. Um, Not hating on Coach Cal, but I definitely think they've been a little too predictable and a little too one-dimensional. And I'm a little disappointed with the way the team has been working offensively and defensively so far since we've got into SEC play. SEC, mind you, is always a tough conference, deep, tons of talent. A ton of teams from the SEC are going to qualify for March Madness, just showing you the really difficulty you have in conference play in a division such as this. But nonetheless, I'm happy to see we got the win today. Hopefully we can build off of that. And I look forward to Reed Shepherd consistently doing more and more. He's definitely becoming a lot more comfortable offensively, which I think is important because sometimes he needs to take over a game. And he can't always be playing second fiddle and giving the ball up hoping somebody else does it. Sometimes he needs to do it. And I think he's done that over the last few games a lot more and definitely has looked a lot better offensively because of it. But leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this year's Kentucky Wildcats squad. What can they do to get better moving forward? And what team are you a supporter of in NCAA basketball? I've been watching a lot of the teams, trying to see who this year is really the team to keep an eye on. Obviously, UConn really looks like a top team. North Carolina and Duke are players, but, have some weaknesses. Kansas as well definitely has some weaknesses as well. So it's going to be interesting moving forward. I definitely do not know who the team to beat is this year. Even when you think about a team like Purdue, who got kicked out of the tournament early last year. Obviously, they have a dominant center from Canada. Hey, Canada. But at the same time, defensively, he's not that versatile. So depending on what kind of teams they're playing, he can struggle to really benefit the team defensively. Obviously, offensively, he's a beast on the inside, a behemoth. But, last year he was already exposed, or they were exposed. So we could look forward to the same thing happening again this year. I don't think they have very much depth when he's not the one carrying the squad, which definitely could hurt them moving into the playoffs. Generally in the NCAA, the teams that have great guard play are the teams that do well in the tournament. That's why I had very high expectations for Kentucky this year with the guards that we have. But because of the freshman guards we have, obviously inconsistency is a problem. So you look at some of the other teams with more experienced guards, they're definitely going to be ones to pay attention to in March Madness, and ones that potentially could pull the upset and get the win and potentially be the champions. But let me know, what team do you like? Who do you support? Why? Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you next time. Peace out.